were serving him, and now they're trying to break free. And it looks like they should be able to if they have 5 kingdoms versus 4, but
You would think.
yeah,
But
Okay.
this ain't nobody to play with.
no, exactly. And again, I think that's what we're supposed to see is that this King Chedorlaomer, where he's not one to be played with. And so usually when you're paying tribute to someone, you're paying tribute to them because they are bigger. What is going on? XYZers, XYZ Nation, we back to you virtually this time for the next episode of a podcast. As we are generational scriptures. We are going through today Genesis chapter, what is it, 14?
Yes.
Genesis chapter 14. And the title of today's episode is Cotton Eye Joe. Y'all know that reference?
No.
Hadn't I been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd be married a long time ago.
Oh,
Is that
where
what
did you
you
come
say?
from?
Where
Where
did you
did you
come
go? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Yep.
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Yeah, that's what it is. Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
I don't get it, but we're gonna figure it out.
All right. By the end, we'll see if it if it makes
Makes
sense.
sense.
hmm
Oh man. Cool. See, I don't even have to. I was gonna put the song in somewhere so people would, because when you hear it, you're like, and you hear all the little violins and things. But yeah, as I was reading this, that's one thing that jumped out to me, and we will see how that resonates with the millennial and the Gen Zer, the microwaver. And we are supposed to do something, and that something is to introduce ourselves. I am the latchkey one himself, the former X-Man, repping Gen X, all up in the area, Chris. And we have in the upper left corner.
I am, I am Maya, the resident millennial,
Da, 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 da. I didn't bring up my
and
sound
then the
effects.
other corner is
Jasmine, your microwaver.
oh,
Okay, it's
I like
easier when it's this way.
I like
Yay,
I
yay!
like that. And together we are
Generational
general
scriptures.
scriptures. That was
Wow.
kind of
All together
I think it
now.
was.
It was what?
It was in
kind of,
sync.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm.
If you say
but we'll
so.
find out.
I believe you. Kind of, sort of. Oh, man. So, as we are growing up as a podcast, we've got 2 segments now. And the first segment that we're going to start off with is Jasmine's Tea. Oops, hold up.
Oh,
Wrong one.
there we
There
go.
you go.
There we go. I
We
should have
don't
bought
leave
my
all
little teacup. I like it. That one's a staple. We got to keep that sound in there. So for my tea, I actually have a follow up from last episode
Cool.
that I did. We didn't glance over it. We talked about it at length, but then like it resonated with me a lot, and I wanted to tie it into the tea. So something that we mentioned, kind of like as we were pulling things apart, was blind faith, like how people can say that you may have like blind faith in the Lord, and how it's really not blind faith because you're reassured with every obstacle and with everything that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so as it pertains to Abram, because he's not Abraham yet, um, the big theme that I was looking at was how faith of a Christian is like the story of character development. So y'all know I love character development. So if you think a movie, right, from the beginning, you have the character has some kind of plight, or there's some kind of overarching thing going on, and as the story goes, either they grow and they mature and they learn some kind of lesson, or the opposite happens. So in chapter 12, Abram Abram is just doing what he feels like he has to do to escape the famine, and to save his own life. So that's from his move from Canaan to Egypt, and then insisting that Sarai tell people and Pharaoh that she is his sister to save his own life. So we discussed how this was him just acting out of fear rather than faith. But in chapter 13, we see how he somewhat relinquishes some of the control that he's trying to have, and there's more of a trusting of the process going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Mm.
it appears as though he's trusting the process and trusting that the land that's supposed to be his will be his, trusting in God's provision. And then he gets that reassurance from the Lord later on. And I think that those kinds of things are what strengthens your faith. And sometimes it takes that going off into a side path for you
Mm-hmm.
to learn that, not for you. It shouldn't take that necessarily for us to just trust the Lord, but we all go through our situations where you may take a leap that may not have been something you asked God about, that
Mm-hmm.
may not have been something that was like a long year journey, but eventually you're brought back. And sometimes, if you are obedient, you'll say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I learned my lesson. How can I adjust so that we can do this differently moving forward? Other
Right.
times, you don't. And I resonated with that so much because I didn't really understand how faith grows.
Mm.
And that that helped me to kind of okay, like I understand now, and I see Abram's situation just slightly different, like just a little bit. I still am like,
Yeah.
you were being selfish, but I can understand how after that situation, after going to Egypt and then now coming back to the land that the place he already was,
Yep.
kind of showed him like, okay, maybe I should just trust this process.
Maybe as
Maybe,
yeah.
well, I can chill a little bit. So I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting, and I just wanted to make sure I pulled that little snippet out because even though we did talk about it a little bit, I have been pondering that for the past week. So giving
Okay.
that to whoever needs that.
Cool. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how you process his character development as we continue on. So that's
Mhm.
good because I'm tempted to be like, "Ooh, your T should be the same in like 3 chapters, right?" Just to see if anything changes or what you think of it then. But cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks,
Mhm.
Jasmine. Oh, some good. I don't even have my tea. I'm all
I
off. We go
know.
virtual. I don't know what to do with myself.
We'll
I
have it
messed
next
up the
time.
intro. I don't have tea. It's just crazy around here. Nah, thank you. That was good. That was good. Um,
Good.
and then we have to follow up with our recap segment, which is the ISO Boom segment that comes from none other than Miss Moyo.
Yes. All right. So in chapter 13, we start off with us being told that Abram and his family go back to basically where they started. So they leave Egypt after the whole ordeal and they go back. And while they are now back in the Negev,
Mm-hmm.
um, Lot Lot and Abram's herdmen are bickering, fighting over space. And Abram goes to Lot and he's like, hey, we're family. There's no need for us to fight. There is so much land. Like, you can come from up under me now, like, move over there or over there, like, wherever you want to go. Pick a place and you go, and I'll go in the opposite direction.
Yep.
And so Lot looks up. He sees some really luscious land over by the Jordan near Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's like, that looks good. And they describe it as similar to the Garden of Eden in the way that it appears, the way that it looks. And
Yeah.
so he chooses that place and he goes there. And then Abram, like he says, goes the opposite way to Canaan. And while he's there, I believe God came to him and basically said, hey, Abram, look around everything
Mm-hmm.
that see is giving like Lion King a little bit. Like everything that you see is gonna be yours. Like all of this is promised to you.
Right.
And that's where kind of what Jasmine was saying about like his faith. It seems like he has more faith now because he hears this and he kind of like okay, and he walks the land. He makes sure that he. It's kind of like not blesses it, but that he's touching it. He's seeing it. He's
Right.
going down. Um, and then they remind us that where Lot went, the people there are wicked. And it's just like a
Mm,
little nugget that's dropped right there. And
right.
we're going to come back to that. I don't even think we come back to it yet in chapter 14, but we'll come back to it in a future chapter. But it's like planting the seed for us to look out for why this area is being called, or the people of this land are being called wicked.
Yeah. And
And oh, sorry, I was gonna say, and the last thing I believe that happens is Abram builds another altar. So
Yes.
we've seen him do this. I think this is the third time at this point where he's building an altar and worshiping God.
yeah. Yeah. And we won't see the full impact of what he chose for several chapters. But we'll see something this chapter that if he had made a different kind of choice, then he may not have been caught up in everything that transpires. So cool. That's all right. So boom segment that Moyo starts out with. All right. So every time,
And
but
at
he
this time I
won't
said,
say
all
it
right,
himself.
so this is chapter 13 though.
Yes, you did, and we are so proud of you. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh man. So y'all ready to dig into 14, chapter 14? Get this party started?
Yep.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
who's supposed to read first? Is that me?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I get to set the pace. All right,
Yes.
Yes.
folks. There's some names in here. So, woo, just hang on. Chapter 14 of Genesis, verses 1 through 3. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Ellasar, this is the banger right here. Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goiim. These kings made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboiim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. And all these joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. All right, those are the first three verses. What do we see happening here?
We see a war happening, but because of what? We have no idea. Like it's just a
Right.
war for I guess they kind of tell us later, but
Hmm.
it is a little confusing. Jasmine has said a couple times like I don't know, and I also was like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was confused. I said, where did these people come from?
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Oh, look at you! I get it
Yes,
now.
I
Is
see. I get
is
it
that the
too.
whole tie-in?
Is that the whole time? Oh,
The whole tie-in to the title.
I think so. This and then who what we'll see later.
Okay, okay.
Um. So I do think we are dropped sort of in the middle of what's happening, right? I think the point is I've got these four kings on one side, these five kings on the other. They do account for us later, and they just about to get down with the get down. They about to have a dance off at the Valley of Siddim to figure out who is the greatest dancer of the group, and then we find out why in the next couple of verses. But this is really, to me, I think the title I put was like chess pieces setting the board or something like that, and it's just laying out the sides, who's on what side, and and what's interesting, I think, is that we are told, right, like the tie-in to last chapter, Moyo, we're told that Lot picked Sodom, right? Where Sodom is. And so now he's caught up in this just because he picked, the place that looked lush and looked good. And we had this discussion last time instead of instead of potentially being like, okay, I'll just tell my men to fall back and try and stick with Abram. But he didn't. So boom, there you go. That's where you
Yeah.
are. Anything
Yeah.
else that you all saw on these in these verses?
I tried to look up like who these people are, who these
Yeah,
people are,
yeah.
and I wasn't really getting much of anything, but I did see one um one commentary. They were saying that the name of the two kings of Sodom and Gomorrah could have been
Hmm.
wordplay, like because we don't know who they are in history. Like there's no
Right,
historical. This is this person and this is this person. But what
right.
they said, which I thought was interesting, was that Bera in Hebrew and then Birsha in
Hmm.
Hebrew relate to evil and wicked.
Yeah,
So I was like, oh, interesting. So it's again just a reminder that these are not great people.
right.
So it's still another call out to keep an eye on that
Yeah,
because he still state. Well, I guess we don't find that out now, but Lot gets saved, but he ends up back there anyway with
right.
these people considered terrible people.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I looked up and I was reading through things and it's like it could be here, it could be there, but there's really no
Yeah.
identification for any of these folks. It's like we thought it was this and then it changed and I'm like, so y'all really just don't know. Anything else? So next up we have Genesis chapter 14 verses 4 through 7. 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and defeated the Rephaim at Ashteroth-kirithaim and the Zeboiim in Ham, the Emim in Sheva-kiriathaim, and the Horites in their hill country as Seir, as far as El-paran on the borders of the wilderness. They turned back and came to En-misphat, that is Kadesh, and defeated all the country of the Amalakites and also the Amorites who were dwelling in the Hazazon-tamar. Say that 5 times fast. Now, with that said, what do we see? What's going on? What's wrong, Jasmine? Why are you looking like that?
I'm telling you, when I tell you, I not only did I read this twice, I listened to it multiple times,
Uh,
and I'm still like, okay, who is who? So the beginning is I feel like a little bit more clear. Okay, but there's 12 years that they served, but then on the 13th year they rebelled.
mm-hmm.
14th year the kings, and like I just, so we're getting the whole war thing spelled out here,
Yeah.
but who I still am confused
So
about the
let's
parties involved.
let's step through it real quick. So 12 years they had served this king, right? So it turns out that the ringleader seems like it does it seem like it is Chedorlaomer, right? So it seems like he's the ringleader. So what it seems like it's saying is that for 12 years, these everybody in this region, including these people that were defeated, and the five that were listed in verses 1 through 3, were vassal or they paid tribute to the top king, which is King Chedor. We'll shorten his name, right? King Che, right? He's the one that everybody sort of sends money to, or that they defer to him. Uh, and this has been going on for 12 years, right? So they served him in that way. But then in the 13th year, they were like, "No, we done. We don't want to serve you." I mean, did y'all pick that up? That
Yeah.
sort of that process that's happening.
Yeah, well, I didn't, but a commentary I watched it.
Here you go. And then, so what happened in the 14th year, Moyo? So we got 12, we got 13, and then 14th.
Is that
d-
with them going to
Yeah,
the 13th year they rebelled. In
yes.
the 14th year they came and defeated. Hold on. It says 14th year
Hmm.
kings. with him came and defeated the Rephaim in,
Right. All of them
yeah.
people. Right. So now he's on like, and I'll put up the map that sort of shows, and I think I sent it to y'all earlier, that sort of shows the travels. And if you
Mhm.
look at the legend where the different colors for the lines, you can see where, King Che moved and where he joined up with, Amraphel and continued around the line. And all along that way, what I believe is happening is that they're defeating all of these kings who took part in the rebellion.
Mhm.
So King Che was like, I got my ride or dies with me. They're not going to leave. They must, for whatever reason. I don't know why they stayed, but everybody else is trying to get from under him. So he's going to go and just take them back by force. And what we see is sort of along the path, I believe, all of the kings of different regions that they're defeating. And I think it's a point to say that they have defeated them soundly. Like, there's no doubt as to who the strongest in this region is. There's one reason
Mhm.
I think that this is here too. I'm sorry, Moya, what were you going to say?
No, I was saying that makes sense now because I was gonna say they added more names to the list that were not in that first
Right.
section of people. I'm like, who are these extra people? Like they keep
Where
adding
did they
people.
come from?
Yes.
Yeah, like we're all, but that makes more sense. They're trying to assert their dominance, so they defeat the ones that rebelled, and then you're saying along the path they're like, actually everybody submit to us. Everybody's getting defeated, or everybody's getting
I think
destroyed.
yeah, I think it's that way. Or I think in verses 1 and through 3, that's why I think I said that we're sort of dropped in the middle. It's almost like a movie where like you see like something happening, like an event happening in the movie. I just watched the movie like that. So there's this robbery that happened, and they show this robbery happening, but then they go back and start to show all the events that led up to this. So I
Mm.
think what's happening in verses 1 through 3 is just showing like this is a final battle that's happening at the Valley of Siddim. Not final battle, but a battle that's happening at the Valley of Siddim with these four kings under King Che, and then the five kings with Sodom, Gomorrah, the king of Bera, and all of these folks, right? Well,
Mm.
how did we get here? 4 through 7 sort of shows you everybody reported to King Che. I think it was everybody in the list that was defeated and the five kings. And
Okay.
now King Che is just going around and being like, y'all going to submit or y'all going to get just taken over. You're going to be forced to submit. And so now he's
Mm.
on his path of rampage, if you want to call it that, as he makes these people submit who
Okay.
were paying tribute and were vassal kingdoms to King Che. So that's what
Mm.
I think is going on.
So it's like you pay your tribute and you submit, or you get
Oh,
conquered.
you get taken over, right?
That's crazy. Okay.
Yes. Hey, these were times. I mean, this is an ancient Near East, and even once you get to Rome, which is no longer ancient Near East, these were times where, um, to make money to grow, you went and took over other places. You
Mm.
made people. If people knew you were stronger than they were, then they would come and give you tribute. They would say, "Oh, well, I'll give you this if you just don't invade my land. I'll pay homage to you. I'll be a vassal nation or kingdom to you. Just don't come and take over." And in
Mm.
this case, they were like, "We're sick of it." So he's asserting his dominance,
Mm.
which I think is interesting because we're going to see what happens in the next couple of verses. So that's what I believe is happening there. And this is all about how we get to the point where now they're at the valley of Siddim and getting ready to fight. Does
Mhm.
that make sense? It sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else we need to touch on? Talk about there? This is chapter 14, verses 8 through 12. I'm too nice. Um, then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboiim, the king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and they joined battle in the valley of Siddim with Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goiim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Ellasar. 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and as the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into them, and the rest fled to the hill country. So the enemy took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and went their way. They also took Lot, the son of Abram's brother, who was dwelling in Sodom, and his possessions and went their way. So what's happening?
And I see.
I mean, the war is starting, right? The
Yeah,
king, the 4 kings versus the 5 kings in one
right.
kingdom, and they started the fight. Seems like, but then they were like, "Oh, wait a minute, it's too much," and
Right.
they ran away. But
Yeah.
and then as they're running away, they're falling into these pits, and people are being captured, and it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Wait, but okay, I need one clarification
Uh,
that is confusing me. So the 4 kings against the 5 kings
mhm.
are amongst the all of the kings that were following behind King Shay. Shay.
The King Che had 4 kings, so it was him.
Mm,
Um, the Tidal, Amraphel, and Arioch. So those are we're introduced to them in verses 1 through 3.
right,
And then the 5 kings are King of Sodom, King of Gomorrah, King of Admah, King of Zeboiim, and the King of Bela,
right.
which
Mhm.
we're introduced in verses 1 through 3. So you
So
see
they were
how
not
it's
behind King Shay.
no, they
Well,
were
they
fighting him.
were serving to him. They were serving him originally, right? So
Right.
they were part of that. In that 12 years, they were serving him, and now they're trying to break free. And it looks like they should be able to if they have 5 kingdoms versus 4. But
You would think.
Mhm.
yeah,
But
Okay.
this ain't nobody to play with.
no, exactly. And again, I think that's what we're supposed to see is that this King Chedorlaomer, where he's not one to be played with. And so usually when you're paying tribute to someone, you're paying tribute to them because they are bigger, because they have
Hmm.
more resources, they have more people. They're just a larger nation. But at this point, they're just like, we want to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so they have this they're supposed to have this big battle. What's interesting to me, because they say it's 4 against 5, but it's like, and as the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, like, who else jumped into the battle with me? It's supposed to be 3 other people, and only Sodom and Gomorrah get mentioned, which I think is wild, right? So it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
I got your back, way back, is what the other kings were saying. That's what it feels like.
Mhm.
Mm.
That makes sense because that could also be why they. It seems like they fell so quick. Like, oh, we're ready for battle, and then all of a sudden it's just y'all two running away,
Right.
and only
Well,
y'all two getting captured.
yeah, yep. It's only Sodom and Gomorrah who had this stuff taken. And when I something I read was like really only Sodom and Gomorrah, their armies were the ones who fell into the bitumen pits. And remember where we saw bitumen from, right? The
Hmm.
Tower of Babel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Make bricks, right? When they burned them with fire, and they used bitumen to sort of hold those bricks together when they were doing the new technology to build the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So here goes that stuff again, that bitumen, and I guess there are pits of it that folks was falling in as they were trying to fight.
Hmm.
So that's crazy.
So during is it typical that during battles possessions and people are taken?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, the way that it was then. And again, even into Roman times, if I wanted to increase my wealth, my prestige, and maybe even people, I would go and fight somebody and take over, unless I wanted to have some sort of them pay me because they had means to pay me, or I can't think of another reason. If I wanted it, the way to enlarge was to go and get it and take it. And by taking it, I would take all their stuff in. And I'm speaking more Rome now because I know more about that than the ancient Near East, right? You Rome, you go, you conquer, you take all of their stuff from their treasury. Now it becomes part of your treasury. So you've just made a whole bunch of money. All the people that come in, most of them wound up being slaves of some sort. So now I've got manpower for really cheap, right? Um, the king of the other place, wherever you conquered, was usually paraded around afterwards as the fallen king of the other kingdom or city or nation that was conquered. So it was rough. So them taking their stuff is normal. I mean, that's what happens when you lose a battle, right?
Yeah.
And their people. So yeah, this wasn't King Che wasn't to play with. He wasn't to play with. So they took all the possessions, but the author makes a point of saying that he took one person in particular and all of their possessions.
Yeah.
Lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then made a point of saying that Lot, the son of Abram's brother, like we didn't know who Lot was, but I think he's like making a point to say Lot is related to Abram because
Yeah.
there's about to be some stuff happening.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else to touch on? Any other questions? Any other thoughts or discussion points there?
Okay, this is Genesis chapter 14, verses 13 to 16. Then one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol,
Mm-hmm.
and of Anir.
Mm-hmm.
These were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his kinsmen had been taken captive, he led forth his trained men born in his house, 318 of them, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them, and pursued them to Hobah, north of
Mm-hmm.
Damascus.
Yep.
Then he brought back all the possessions, and also brought back his kinsman Lot with his possessions, and the women and the people.
Wow. Yeah.
Now this I understood. I
You
said,
understood this? I
okay.
mean, so what do you see here?
So what I found really interesting right off the bat, um, Abram, he had allies, which I wasn't sure. Like I was a little bit slightly confused by that. If he had allies prior to now, or if he sought allies once he knew that someone had been taken.
Um, I think he had allies already because it says, um, the one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre the Amorite. So somebody came and told Abram of the folks that were defeated, and so they can get word. So why would they tell him if he wasn't like if they weren't cool? You know, that's how I
Right,
took it.
right. And then, but I was like, where did these ally ships come from? Like, why? Why? What makes Abram? Why Abram?
I don't.
I would
Or
You
is
say
it
got
just
something,
like,
Moya?
I would say because he's living in their land, right? His allies are the people that he's living near. So
oh,
it was
okay,
also interesting that they specifically said Abram the Hebrew. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not from here, but he's
Exactly.
been here living peacefully. So I think living peacefully amongst them. So he may be friendly. I mean, he seems like, and he remember he walked around the land and all of that. So he's probably seeing people, talking to people. He's not a Joseph where he's like, I'm taking all this like one day. Like he's a wise old man that's just making friends with his neighbors, right?
Okay,
Because I would
yeah.
imagine that people are just, oh, he's a nice guy. He sits over here. Sometimes he gives me some of his, he got mass stuff. He got all these animals. He has gold. He has all kind of stuff. He could be. I think he would just be a chill person that people just like.
Okay.
Would his
That's how
nickname
I
be?
see him.
Would his nickname be Cool Water? I love that
It could
nickname, by
be.
the way.
It could be because he seems chill, but it's like also I'm about that life. Like, because
Clearly.
he seemed so peaceful up until now. He was so timid when we were talking about him going to Egypt, but he also has maybe some more wisdom because we've gone through Joseph's story where you see what being kind of naive and young looks like,
Hmm.
and then we get to Abram and he's way older by the time we meet him,
Yeah.
and then sometimes we're thinking, why would you do that? But it's like he's lived a little bit, so he knows a little bit more. And even though it's not always faith, even though he's not always showing faith, he's moving like somebody who been in these streets for a minute. Like, I these people a little crazy. Let's just say this and that. Like, that's not a great move, but also I can see why you did that because that's probably what
Mm.
they would have done. Or, like he just has more wisdom, I think, and he knows how to carry himself. Yeah. So I would say he would have allies just off of that. Like,
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
makes that makes
that
sense.
makes
That
sense.
makes sense.
Definitely. I also think that because wasn't it chapter 13 where the author made a point of saying that there were still Canaanites in the land?
Hmm.
So there were
mm-hmm.
still people there,
Yeah.
and when they had to pick which side they were going on. So they're people. It's just we don't. Again, the author's not writing down. Abram bought cookies to his next door neighbor when he moved
Yeah.
in, right? As a welcome to the neighborhood or I'm new to the neighborhood thing. The author's not telling us that.
Yeah. It also
Word.
feels like a lot when we think about Lot, we think about him being kind of young because they're always referring to him as like this child of someone who died, the
Hmm.
nephew of this person, the grandson of this person. Like he's never like just Lot the man. So
Hmm.
it's kind of fitting that he got captured because when you heard about the wars, go back home,
Why
like go
didn't you
find
leave?
Abram. But he just, I'm gonna just chill here. This don't got
I'm
nothing to do
good.
with me. But you're living in the land where all of this is happening.
Right,
Right.
right. I mean, do you all think that if Lot wasn't took, that Abram would do anything?
I don't think so.
Um, if he wasn't taken captive, but he was in any kind of trouble, I think that Abram would have, because like even the slightest bit. Because again, here the author makes it a point to highlight the kinsman. So like in chapter 14, when Abram heard that his kinsman had been taken, and that's the
Hmm.
second time. I think in chapter 13
Yeah,
was it
you
it
thinking
was when
about
he said that.
when he said that
We're
we're kinsmen, so
kinsmen.
we shouldn't be fighting? Yeah.
Yes, yes, like it's another emphasis, like we're family, and we
Hmm.
shouldn't. So I think that family piece is what is pushing Abram to act how he did. Now, if Lot had been over on the side thriving, he somehow wasn't as massively affected by everything going on. No need, right?
Right.
But and it seemed like up until this point, Abram wasn't. It doesn't look like he was much involved in the conflict.
Yeah.
So now that his kinsman's involved, he's like, "Oh, okay, gather
All
the
right.
men.
Let's
We
get
riding
it.
at dawn."
We riding out. Roll out.
Yeah.
Like I
Yes,
was about to call them
Transformers.
Decepticons, but they're not. They're the good people. The Autobots.
No,
Autobots. Roll
Autobots.
out. All
Yes,
right.
literally. That was cool. I liked that was very interesting, especially because he gathered like Abram. So one of the commentaries I listened to said like Abram's not a what is it? Not a what do they call it? The fighter people
A warrior?
warrior. He's not a warrior by trade.
Right.
So this isn't something that he just does. But he gathered his resources, his people that were born in
Hmm.
his, so his people born in his house are his servants, right?
Um,
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
So he
This
gathered his servants.
mhm. People that
But they're
that
trained
sort of
though, so I know we don't see him as a warrior or fighter, but why are you training fighters if you're not a fighter?
True,
I feel
right?
like you gotta stay ready because he's a foreigner. So
Hmm.
to me, because I also read that he's not a warrior, he's not this, and I'm like, I am not a warrior, so I don't have people ready to go at any point. Like I don't have fighters. I can't collect 300 people to be like, let's go fight. Like I just can't. So I feel like you
no.
got to be something. You have to be something to have that many people ready to go at like this because they're saying Lot got taken. Oh, my nephew got taken. Let's go. Like let's all go. And y'all are ready. Y'all didn't have to train. Y'all didn't have to do the Mulan. Like y'all were just already ready.
You said
Y'all
the
was already
Mulan.
ready to go.
Well, maybe it's the same thing about how, like, him acting out of fear. Maybe, just maybe, he still is like, like, I still need to, like you said, I need to protect me and my house, and that is his way of being prepared, just staying ready so he won't have to get ready,
Dog,
just
right.
on the off chance. You
Yeah,
never know.
but I think that's more reason why I would describe him as a warrior or like somebody who is trained enough to be able to go defeat this man who defeated everybody and their mother. Like he went and defeated somebody who's been wiping out all these people. Like I don't see how that's not a warrior.
I don't know.
Okay.
I see him as like. Would you consider the president a warrior? Any president?
No,
Well, let's get past George Washington and all of them people really early, right? But would you see the president as a warrior? And now that I say that,
I get your
that's
point.
weird because kings were supposed to be warriors, but I don't know if Abram's a king really. It's more to
but
me.
he
I wonder.
led them. At this point, he's leading them. They didn't
True.
say he sent them. They said he led them.
Hmm.
Yep, and
Our
he
president don't
divided.
go anywhere.
No, he didn't. Don't.
They just
But to Jasmine's point, they make sure that we've got people ready to roll out. Right, the Autobots are on call and ready to go whenever it's time to go. Right,
yeah.
so
But
I can
I
see
think
it
the
both
difference
ways.
is the leading. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was struggling with. Is he just like the leader, like a president, and you make sure I'm living in this foreign land, so I gotta get ready, stay ready, so I have to get ready. So y'all need to be over there training. I picked you all up along the way because you could fight. So you train up these other, 315 guys or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, on the other side, I'm gonna be over here making sure all the livestock and all that stuff is taken care of. And then I'm wondering about when the son that the Lord's promised me is going to come and all of this stuff. So I was wondering if he was just a leader and he. It sounds like he came up with the strategy though, which lends me back to what you're saying, Moyo. So I can see it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Where
mean, both places. In verse 14, you have he led them. And then in verse 15, it says, um, he and his servants and defeated them. Like it's repeating that he's not sending anybody. He's going.
he's going right.
Yeah.
So and yeah,
And then he brought back all the possessions
well,
and his kingsmen
that's
with
that's
horses.
not that's that whole if you in charge, you get all the accolades, right?
But he's there. Like he's there at every step.
Nah, yeah, I get it. That makes sense. He is. How trained is he though? He old.
He's
He's
not
Yeah.
old.
old yet, though. He's old for us, but not old for himself.
Ah,
Oh yeah.
man, he gotta be like halfway through his life. I guess maybe I don't know. Whatever. It. Abram is just a different kind. They don't make him like him
Mhm.
no more. So
Nope.
Is it interesting to you when I read the number 318? I'm like, how is that possibly enough? Why is that number called? But then I think, okay, he had some allies. We don't get told how many people that his allies brought with them. So, but this 318, that stood out to me because I'm like, that's all you got? Shouldn't somebody just be able to come and take you over if they wanted to, if all you have is 318 men?
In comparison to what though? Because 318 felt like a lot to me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe it
if they're
was then.
trained. Because if they were trained men,
Hmm.
318 trained men, so I was like, okay, they know what they're doing at least.
Yeah.
So even and I think one of the little videos I watched even talked about how it didn't seem like much to your point, like he
Hmm.
didn't go in with much, but they were victorious, which I was like, oh, okay, well, 318 must have been enough.
Must have been enough. Right. you,
Yeah.
you got you got something more? You-
I didn't write it down because I wasn't sure if it mattered, but I did read something that said that 318 could have been like a symbolic number. Like
Hmm.
it's just a number that's thrown out. We don't know the exact number, but 318 sounds good. Like they don't really have a count. So it could be more or less. Just
Yeah.
whatever feels like this feels good, 318. But
Sounds about
and that's why
right.
I didn't write it down because I was just like, what? Like that
What?
was super
What do you
because
mean?
they were comparing it to other texts that use the exact same number. So they're like, why is this number repeated in this way? Like, is it an actual number or is it symbolic for something?
Oh,
Okay. Huh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I would have to look that up because I'm like symbolic for what? What would it be
yeah.
symbolic for? Because I can't think of another place. Maybe as we go through, we'll see it pop up again. So we got 318. To your point, Moyo, it sounds like Abram came up with the strategy. We're going to divide and then attack these cats at night.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, they won. A matter of fact, it sounds like they won decisively. Did y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it says he and his servants. Oh, I'm picking up in the middle. In 13, and he divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them and pursued them to Hobah, north of Damascus. So it wasn't even that they just beat them, but pursued them. They made them run away.
Mhm.
These people who have been the bullies on the block, picking on everybody all the way
Yeah.
around. Um, they call that the King's Highway. When you see the map and you see the route it takes, I think they said it's like the Transjordan Range or something like that, and they call it the King's Highway. They refer to it like that in Numbers, I think. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, so Abram has bought victory and got back all the stuff, including Lot and the women and the people. So everybody that they took, Abram managed to get back.
Yep.
Go, Abram. You are the man.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else there?
Nope.
All right. Let's continue on. Genesis chapter 14, verses 17 to 20. After his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet at the valley of Sheva, that is the king's valley. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High, and blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And Abram gave him a tenth of everything. All
Mm.
right. Who comes on the scene?
Melchizedek,
Yeah, however you say his name.
king of Salem.
Melchizedek. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Where did you go?
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to see if Salem was even mentioned before, but I don't think it was.
Nah, it's not.
So where is
Melchizedek
Salem?
is what?
I said, where is Salem in relation to all of this that's going on?
Right. I think there's a number of questions that we have, right? One, where is Salem? Two, how is this Melchizedek dude priest of God Most High?
Yeah.
Like, we thought Abram and God was working through Abram, and now this dude shows up, right? Um, what is he doing? So before we get into some of the other things, right? Salem, I was reading things, and they were like, Salem is Jerusalem, and I'm like, that's anachronistic, right? It's out of time because Jerusalem, was that even there? I thought Jerusalem was like David time and all of that, and we're talking about it here, but
Mm,
Mm.
I think they're pointing to Salem being where Jerusalem will ultimately be, which is currently Zion. And so some places had already called like the Zion area Jerusalem, by other languages and stuff. So I was like, okay, if that's the case, that's fine. Um, but I think that just adds to the mystery of this Melchizedek who's come on the scene, right?
is
Um,
God is God Most High God that we know so far?
it's a good question. My take is I don't know how it can't be because one, I wouldn't expect Abram to deal with him if he weren't referencing or pointing to the same God that Abram was, right? Two, I don't know who else can be pointed to as the possessor of heaven and earth aside from God Most High, who's one God who did the creation, not multiple gods who took part in different parts of creation or required other things to happen and be part of creation. That word possessor, some translations will have creator of heaven and earth. The ESV in this case has possessor of heaven and earth. So I think that who Melchizedek, when it says Melchizedek is a priest of God Most High, I think it is the God that we've learned about from Genesis chapter 1 through now.
Mhm.
So that's the reason I think that.
Well, so that stood out to me particularly because we haven't. I mean, we've had many references to God up until this point, but this feels so different because I haven't seen like God Most High, and I don't know. The call out it just felt different, which is why I also was like, Are we talking about the same God here? What
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
we are. I feel like I feel like we have had reference to God Most High.
have we? Let me look.
I thought so. I
Let
thought
me
we
see.
did. I could be wrong. No, we haven't. According to the search, this is first used in Genesis 14, 18 to 20. Good catch,
Yeah, that's really it's just
Elion.
different.
Okay, no, you're right. Yeah,
I
so
wasn't
it is.
expecting
But
to see a new reference.
yeah, but again, because of the way that he's described, I don't know how you take it as anyone other than the God we've seen in Genesis from the beginning of Genesis, right? The possessor
Yeah,
or the creator of heaven and earth. As we understand it, that's the same God that we met in Genesis 1 in the beginning. God created the heavens and the earth.
yeah.
So I'm not too thrown by them introducing him as God Most High, but it is a good point. I don't want to take away from that. That this is the first time that it's used, and I didn't pick up on that. So that's a good
Mm.
catch.
Like you said, it doesn't take away from anything here. I think and I'm not too hung up on it. It just I found it interesting and different, a different kind of call out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we meet Melchizedek. He comes from Salem. He's the king of Salem, which actually means peace, right? So he's the king of the city of peace. What else does Melchizedek do?
He's also a priest.
He's also a priest,
Which
He
what is a
brought bread
priest
and
at
wine.
this point?
right? And I think that when we look at this, we have to look at Hebrews because, and even there's a psalm, I can't remember which one it is. It's 110, Psalm 110. I think it's like verse 4, where it talks about that Jesus being a priest, uh, like, or Melchizedek rather, is like Jesus in terms of his priesthood, right? Because we're so accompanied, we're so, not so, we, let me slow down and get my thoughts together. Israel is so caught up in the fact that priests need to come through the line of Levi, right? And that order wasn't established until Moses, right? So, so now what happens is we've got this mysterious character comes on the scene. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe, right? Who comes on the scene and he's called a priest. And I think that's opposed to the people that are receiving the Torah, the Israelites, be like, huh, where did this priest come from? The priests that we know are from Levi.
Mm,
But God then uses this fact that he has called a priest who seems to carry out the same duties as the priests of Levi and says that Jesus, who was not of the line of Levi, he is of the line of Judah, is a priest, just like Melchizedek is a priest, not because he came up through a birthright, but because God has chosen him sort of out of the order that he usually has set up Israel to choose priests, because he can do that. And now Jesus is your priest.
mm,
This is what's interesting to me about this Melchizedek thing, and I feel like I'm going on, but I will continue to, because one of the things with Melchizedek is I think this is all we really get of him. We don't get anything else. We get these verses 18 through 20, 17 through 20. That's it. I don't even think it goes to 20. But these four verses, that's all we get. That's all we get of Melchizedek out of everything else. And then Melchizedek is such a big figure that when we start to talk about the supremacy of Jesus, we point, particularly as a priest, we point back to Melchizedek, who just sort of jumps on the scene out of nowhere. We don't really, to the point where after the order of Melchizedek means that he's got no beginning and no end, meaning we don't know where he came from. We don't have a lineage for him. We don't know who his parents are. He's
right.
just here. And Jesus is greater than him. Jesus is a priest after this order. Jesus is a priest that has a beginning, not even, I don't want to say that, who is eternal. He has no beginning. He's got step parents, right? And he's after that order. He's not like Levi. He doesn't come up the same way. And because of that, the big thing that comes from it is that Jesus doesn't have to make atonement for himself because of who he is, like the priests of Levi do.
Mm,
The priests of Levi have to deal with their own sins before they can go and be a priest to the people. Because the priest is supposed to be the mediator between the people of Israel and God Most High. Well, Jesus doesn't have to because he's never sinned. And because he's never sinned, he doesn't have to make atonement for anything. And then the atonement that he's giving for the people that will come after him, who believe in him, who have faith, is done once for all. There is no need for another atonement. The priest of Levi had to give atonement every year, and year after year after year after year. Jesus is not like that. Wait, but Jesus isn't of the tribe of Levi. That's why Jesus is after the order of Melchizedek, because Melchizedek isn't of the tribe of Levi. Tribe of Levi doesn't even exist yet
yeah.
in person. what else when you read through Hebrews, it does say, well, let's talk. Well, no, let's say that now. What it does say is that, in essence, Abram, who gave a tenth to Melchizedek. Let's start there. When Abram gives a tenth to Melchizedek, what does that mean in terms of the um, status of Abram to Melchizedek? Does that make sense?
That he had a lot more.
That he had a lot more, but
To like a pastor to a someone in the
there's a difference in, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. I was just saying like you have a pastor or whatever in the church versus someone in the congregation. Is that
A
what
lay person, right?
yeah.
So in pastor to lay person, I think what you're getting at is that there is some higher status in terms of, I don't know how to say this exactly, not relation to God, but who that person is, right? Like Abram is considered the father of the faith to Israel. So if Israel was to pay a tithe to someone in that relationship, it would be all of Israel paying a tithe to Abram because he's of a higher stature.
Mm.
Does that make sense? And I think that's what you were
Mm.
getting at, Moyo, sort of like that difference in stature, right? Well, it's the same thing here because now what's happening is that Abram is paying a tenth to Melchizedek, so
Mm.
Melchizedek is of a higher stature. And
Yeah, and I
then
was
what
thinking
does
more
the
position than stature. Like not and I don't know if that's being nitpicky, but like his position is of a higher level in terms of
you could
maybe
say that too?
yeah.
That might be
I
a little
don't know if
more
it's closeness
politically
to
correct.
God because he's considered this priest and king. Like there's a lot of titles that he's holding versus
Hmm.
Abraham, who is a normal person but also chosen.
He's got a call, right?
Mm.
So Abram, and don't get me wrong, and why I want to choose words wisely, and thank you, because it's hard to be like, well, he's higher and closer to God than Abram. Well, Abram's pretty important because he's
Yes.
got the call. God's going to be working through him, but he still gives a tithe to Melchizedek. So what else happens in that thing? There's a blessing that's said. Who blesses who?
Melchizedek.
Feeling the blessing.
He blesses Abram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives the blessing? If someone blesses you, it's usually from the higher to the lower, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
usually the patriarch of the family to the sons, like we saw with um, in the story of Joseph, right?
Mm.
So what this is really pointing to is that Melchizedek is a higher position. I think that's what you said, Moyo, than Abram. So much so that Abram's giving a tithe, that Melchizedek is blessing Abram.
Hmm.
When he says the blessing about God, that blessing, that word bless, is talking about an exaltation, a eulogizing type thing, a speaking well of, right? God gave Abram the victory, which I want to talk about in a second. But
Yeah.
Melchizedek comes on the scene. Abram gives him a tithe. He's blessed by Abram. So we see that there's this difference. And what the writer of Hebrews says concerning the tithe, that because Levi is in essence in Abram, they essentially paid a tithe to Melchizedek. So when you get a chance, go back and read Hebrews chapter 5 through chapter 7, and it brings up Melchizedek and talks about all of these things, all with the idea that Jesus is our great high priest because he's after the order of Melchizedek.
Yeah.
So I went on a long rant. Hopefully that made sense.
It
I think the next thing that we need to talk about in there is who gets attributed the victory that Abram had.
God Most High.
Yeah. So does that make you look at the 318 differently? I know we talked about it being a symbol, but if we were to think of it as persons, does that make you look at the 318 people against this army from Chedorlaomer any different, King Che?
Yeah. I think that it comes back to that whole faith conversation, and he went from being afraid of the Egyptians to going to fight someone with what seems to be not a great army, and he had to have some sort of faith there to do that. Even though we don't see him specifically saying, God, help me through this battle,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it comes back later and it's attributed to God, I think is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I agree. And is it the faith or the call, or are they intertwined?
I, I think they
Be-
would be intertwined.
You think it's
But
it's
then
one and the
again, I don't,
same?
because I think I know too much in the future, and it's kind of annoying me a little bit that I'm like, I can't just give him that.
Take it from where it is exactly.
Yeah, for what it is right now. So it's
Yeah.
hard to say. Yeah, if I was going like I don't know anything else, then yeah, like
Right.
like yeah. But because I know a little bit further, I'm like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jasmine. This is why we talked in the tea. Like in a couple of chapters, we'll come back and ask you the same question and see what you
Yeah.
say.
I'll have to reevaluate my
But yeah,
tea.
I'm with you, Moyo. I'm sort of like, is it because of the call and I will curse those who curse you and bless those who bless you? And this is God acting, or is it Abram riding out not just on emotion but in faith? And I think I can see it being intertwined. And I think this is an area that I'm growing in terms of like um just went over not too long ago after the transfiguration and they come down from the mountain, everybody's buzzing, the three that went up with Jesus. And they come down to this man and his son is like is like has a demon that throws him down, makes him foam at the mouth, makes him rigid, just toss him in the fire, water in the past. And Jesus asks him, "What do you want?" And he says, "If you can, right, help my son." And Jesus is like, "What do you mean, if you can?" I'm paraphrasing. Anything is possible for those who believe. And this man comes back and he says, "I believe. Help my unbelief." And
Mm.
that's what I'm starting to learn here. Or this is an area I think I'm growing in, um, because I think, and I'm probably about to spoil it for you, Jasmine, but I think it's levels. And so it's hard for me to say that he's not operating in some level of faith right now, but there may be something that happens in the future that causes him to be like that man and say, "I believe, help my unbelief." And then don't we all do that at some point? Like, I believe and it's gotten me this far, but there's this next thing that's coming up that I just can't figure out. I believe, Jesus, help my unbelief. Right?
Yeah,
So
and
that's where I'm at.
I would say as you were talking, I started thinking that maybe it's not faith because Melchizedek is stepping on the scene and telling him like, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High," and "Blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." Like it's almost like he's reminding him that you didn't do this on your own,
Right.
because we don't really hear Abram saying anything. Like we don't see him saying like this was God, or preparing, like similar to how David would kind of pray and go into battle.
Mhm.
We don't see that here. We just see him, my nephew's in trouble, I got to do something,
I
and
got to do
go.
something to get it. Right.
And then now it's like, okay, slow down, and then the blessings come, and it's like a reminder to him, which then would make it easier to give him some grace later when he's doing stuff that you're like, wait a minute, I thought you learned, I thought you knew. But it's like, has he? Because we're giving him more here than he probably has in terms of
Maybe.
his faith.
Maybe.
So he's gonna get the character development at the end of all of this, but right now we're still building
We're still
all of
building.
it.
I
I think,
agree. Yeah, it'll be interesting as we play this out, and I would definitely be interested to get your take, Jasmine, as our
Yeah.
character development guru.
See,
To see
now,
how this falls out.
and honestly, I think I'm willing to give Abram a little bit of grace in
Uh-huh.
his when I where I have my like, I don't know. Either way, we're leaning because I think we talked about that before. Like, this feels very like realistic, and it's not extreme on either side. Other than I don't know, the going to Egypt, telling everyone that Sarah is your sister feels very extreme. But I feel like now my com- my debate with myself of whether or not he's actually stepping out on faith isn't as strong because it doesn't feel like the things that he's doing are extreme in either direction. It feels like I'm finding my footing. I'm trying like he's learning to trust. I don't know.
Mhm.
They just don't feel like
Right.
big things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the yeah. I mean, we have to give him some credit, or do we? Like he left. He left all that he knew, with the exception of Lot, who just seemed to be he took with him, or Lot was just tagging along. So we have to give him credit for that, right? He heard the call, he answered.
mm-hmm.
Going into Egypt is like, all right, what are you expecting to happen here? You've got the call. It's like, and I think that's just humans. That's just what we do. I think there's certain areas where we're like, boom, I'm all in. This is an easy one for me to trust you in. But then there's other things like, nah, I got to work to do this. I got to fight to do this. I got to do this.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, to your point, Mo. He doesn't say afterwards he built an altar like he's done at all the other places or
Hmm.
anything like that. It's just like, all right, we won, and then Melchizedek comes out.
It definitely feels like his thanksgiving and his obedience is circumstantial. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like it it depends when we see him. So like, oh, like he will be so thankful to the Lord, or get or understand
Hmm.
like, where this blessing is coming from. In this case,
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, this victory was kind of unheard of.
it's kind of crazy. This
It
dude
would have,
been beating everybody.
and right with his 318-man army, it seems like in this case, yeah, I would have expected there to be some kind of praise to the Lord
Yeah,
that for what's going on, but I don't know. I'm excited to keep pushing to see
yeah.
how he evolves.
Yeah.
This is my last thing. This is where I struggle because I don't want to. I don't want to poo-poo Abram, but I also don't want to make it seem like he's arrived to the ultimate place that he's going to be at. If that makes sense, I don't want to dismiss him as. I don't want to dismiss him because he's not made it all the way to where we eventually expect for him to go. Because I feel like honestly, I'd be dismissing myself. You know what I mean? I don't know. Is that making sense? Like I don't want to count him out. I don't want to say he's not making strides. I don't want to say that he doesn't have some level of faith, or even though it may not be to where we ultimately think it should be in his development. Because I
Yeah.
feel like for me, again, I fall into that camp too. Well, I don't want to say I'm not making strides, but I know I've got a long way to go. You know, so I don't know. I think we're all saying the same thing. I just felt like I had to
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. I think that as we go through all of the characters, we have to be reminded that they were human, right? So it's easy for us to be like, oh my goodness, you did this, but what would you have done differently, if anything? Or would you have
Right.
done worse, or would you have done better? We don't really know because we aren't in those
We aren't
exact
in those situations.
so
Thank you. You said it way better than I did because that's exactly what I was thinking. All
yeah.
right. Um. Anything else here? Salem brought out bread and wine. I think that was just to refresh. But again, Salem brought out bread and wine. Melchizedek, the king of Salem, but of bread and wine that was just to refresh the men after their fight. But yeah, this was good. This was a good discussion. All right,
All
last
right.
but not least.
Yes, Genesis chapter 14, verses 21 to 24. And the king of Sodom said, and the king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the persons, but take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to the Lord, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and I would not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. I will take nothing but what the young men have eaten, and the share of the men who went with me.
Hmm.
Let Anar, Eshcol, and Mamre take their share.
Mm. So we did all that talking about Abram. Do we feel any different about where he stands now after reading those couple of verses?
A little bit.
A little bit,
I mean, I think it's still he was reminded about who won him this battle, and then
right?
now it's kind of like, let me test you. Did you get it?
Did you get
Did you
it?
understand?
Right.
He understood. He understood.
He
Mhm.
understood the assignment, as you young kids
Yeah.
say.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
Six
I wonder if
seven,
that's the
6'7".
actual order of this happening. Like, is it Melchizedek spoke to him, then King of Sodom came and was like, hey, thank you. Here's some stuff. And he's like, oh, no, no, no. I can't take that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a weird because in 17 it talks about the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shiva, and then all of a sudden it's just like, where did you come from? Where did you go?
Mhm.
Melchizedek comes on the scene. So I'm not sure how that whole thing transpired in terms of time, but we see that Abram, oh, king of Sodom, I guess he's just happy to get his people back. So he tells Abram, take all the goods. And I think that was what was done at that time because he was thankful for Abram bringing back all his people. Um, what about Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre? Do you think that they are caught up in the call, and those who bless you, I will bless?
Mm,
I could see
Yeah,
yeah.
that.
yeah, yep. Cool. Anything else with that? I mean, that seems pretty straightforward to me after all our
Yeah.
discussion on Melchizedek.
I do wanna get you guys thoughts on the I that I would not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you should say I have made Abram rich. What is that about? The I have made Abram rich part. Why is that significant? Why does it matter whether or not he was like that? It was mentioned that he gave something to Abram.
Yeah, good question.
I don't know if that was significant or if it was just like something that's just thrown in there. Like, hey, I didn't want to take nothing because I didn't want you to say that you gave me anything. kind of thing. That's it.
Yeah, you look like you got something to say. Go for
I'm
it.
just thinking about, again, the discussion he just had with Melchizedek and the fact that he already knows the promise that God has for him. And we want to be clear that that promise is from God, right? Nobody else helped me get here. No one else can say
Mm,
it was because of me that he got to this point, or it was because of me that he was finally able to get this possession or this land or whatever it is that he's promised. Um,
hmm
yeah, that's it. That's what I would think of.
Yeah,
mm.
agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think it was anything super deep. I was just like, mm, why is that specifically called out here?
Yeah, I think it is a little deep though because to what we were just saying, you're still seeing Abram's faith and belief in how the Lord is going to provide and deal with them grow. even after what we talked about, him being told that the victory was because the Lord had blessed him.
Mhm.
Now we see him acting on it, just as Moyo said. So I think that's kind of important to
Mm.
call out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a contrast between him taking the stuff from Egypt, but not taking it here. So, what is then the difference, right? And
Yep.
me, I was thinking these are his neighbors. This is the land and the area that's supposed to be his possession. So, I don't know. Is what he took from Egypt? Does what he took from Egypt take away from the promise that God had for him? If now we're saying I can't take from these people, or are we just saying that was a mistake? Like that whole Egypt thing was a mistake. Like it wasn't a part of the plan, but it happened.
Yeah. That's a good question. That's a good question. Because I had the same question, uh, and I'm going to I'm going to hold off until we talk about Abimelech before answering that.
Okay.
Not unless you want to answer it now, Moya, because you look like you got thoughts.
I don't have any thoughts. I don't
Okay.
have any thoughts. I think we can wait. I yeah, I think we can wait.
Okay.
You sure?
I don't have anything.
Mhm.
Trying to be like Jasmine and stay like where we are as much as I
Stay
can without being like,
right.
but this. It's hard. It's hard a little
Mhm.
bit, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think
Okay. Cool. Oh man, this was another fun episode.
It was. Y'all
Another
taught me a lot.
good episode. Any last words? Any last anything we gotta talk about?
yeah. I'm
Good right
glad you
here.
studied and didn't try to wing it,
Yeah.
cause I was gonna be
Nah.
struggling through that. All right, so boom, the next time, Chris didn't tell me enough information.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, we couldn't. I think this is important because of the impacts that it has when it gets to Jesus, particularly from Melchizedek, which is one reason I didn't want to. I thought we needed to just take our time. We couldn't wing this one because he is a type of the Christ that is our high priest forever. And so why and how and why are those comparisons made? And hopefully we touched on all of those things. Um, so yeah, I didn't want to. I saw Melchizedek in there, and I was like, all right, we need to. I myself, I knew I needed to look some stuff up. So I appreciate you all being patient. If you all can't tell, I'm making us behind schedule. So that's why everybody's looking at me like, Chris, you keep messing us up. But we'll get back on schedule. We'll get back on schedule. All right. So if that's it, nothing else to say. Thank you all as always. You all rock. You all rock. You all rock.
Oh,
I'm
so
so
do
glad
you.
that I get to do this with you all. For all of you out there, our XYZers and XYZ Nation, there's one in the bag, one in the can. And we will see you next time on Generational Scriptures as we get into chapter 15 of Genesis. And with that said, we didn't say it at all. Do the like, subscribe thing. You
Make sure
know,
you follow Jesus. You didn't do your benediction or name.
I sure didn't. I didn't do that either. My benediction? Really?
What
Make
is
sure you
it?
follow
Is that
Jesus.
what
Smoke
it's
and
called?
all? I don't know. One of
The
those things.
benediction. The invitation.
Oh yeah,
And it was a
invitation.
perfect segue. Why didn't you like? You're supposed to be like, do something. Because I was just talking about Christ and now Melchizedek and Christ and how those things link together. And Christ is our great high priest forever, who was given atonement for our sins once and for all, never having to be done again, because the blood of Christ is so precious that it deals with everything that we could possibly ever do in this life that would be sinful towards God. So, with that said, and the price that was paid to deal with our sins. I urge you to believe. Believe the content of the gospel, as I like to call it, which is that Jesus died for our sins according to the scripture, that he was buried. He was really dead and put into a tomb, but God raised him by the power of the Holy Spirit on the third day, and he is our hope. The firstborn of the dead, scripture calls him. And so, because Jesus rose, all of those who are in Jesus will one day rise. What a glorious day it'll be. So, we ask you to believe, we urge you to believe, and if you believe, we ask you to get to a church and be discipled, a good Bible believing church. If you have any questions about that or need any suggestions of where to go, just let us know and we'll do our best to figure out where that may be. All right? So, with that, then do all the other things like subscribe, go to Spotify, podcast, Apple. We out there. TikTok, and we're on there. YouTube, Instagram, all the things. Right?
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
Yes, all the
Yeah.
things.
All the things. All right. Now can we close?
Now we
Yes.
can close.
All right. So thank you all for tuning in, and we are out of here. It's Generational Scriptures. Deuces.
Bye.